So, like I said before, I'm not really sure if I'm gonna do a video for every single one of the movies that I watch in October, but I figured I should do a video for the first one. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, released in 1974, was directed by Tobe Hooper. Before this, I had only ever seen one movie directed by Tobe Hooper, and that is Poltergeist, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I went into this knowing next to nothing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wish I could have gone into this movie knowing even less than what I did. I knew that his name is Leatherface and that he wears human skin as a mask and that he has a chainsaw. And that's about it. I did know that his family played a part. I knew that they were all kind of this backwoods evil sort of maybe cannibals, whatever. I was shocked quite a bit because I didn't know anything about this movie. Had I known less, I probably would have been even more surprised by the movie as a whole. First and foremost, I was surprised by how beautiful of a movie it is. I mean, it's shot in such a gorgeous way. The cinematography is fantastic in this movie. I just feel like the horror movies, that it's not high on the list, especially movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that it's more of a a slasher type deal. The visuals in the movie are fantastic. I mean, not only are they gorgeous, but at times it's the visuals themselves that are the most chilling part of the movie itself. That opening shot of the corpse tied to the tombstone is fantastic. I mean, when that set the tone for the rest of the movie, I was in. I was all in for whatever was getting ready to happen. I knew nothing about the the characters, I guess. I didn't really know much about what happened in this movie. So I didn't know anything about the I didn't know anything about the brother in the wheelchair, who I thought was a very interesting addition, made for some very interesting moments throughout the movie. The scene near the beginning of the movie where they pick up the hitchhiker, had I known less about the movie, I wouldn't have guessed right away that hitchhiker and the guy who runs the gas station that they stop at later were the family members of Leatherface. That I just kind of pieced together with what little information I did know about the movie. My experience with Texas Chainsaw Massacre prior to this was the 2005 remake with Jessica Biel, which I hardly remember at all, but I do remember the hitchhiker scene in that movie, which was very, very different. It's not the same whatsoever. But they pick the guy up, and I'm waiting for this to play out how it played out in the 2005 movie, where it's going to be a woman who blows her brains out in the back of the car. And this does not happen. And it proceeds. I mean, it is probably the most intense scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. I think it's fantastic. I mean, it all plays out in real time. I love how the majority of the movie is sort of scored by the radio, whether it be in the car or at the gas station or where have you. There always seems to be a radio kind of scoring the movie, and because of that, the songs play out in their entirety when they're in the car with this hitchhiker, and it's all kind of in real time, and I think that just made it a lot more intense. You're in such a confined space, and the character of the brother in the wheelchair, he's just kind of an idiot, to put it simply. All of these things kind of factored in together. Start to get the sense of this unpredictability of the hitchhiker they just picked up. And I had no idea. I really didn't know what was going to happen next. I mean, I knew each one of these people needed to meet their fate with Leatherface, so I mean, it couldn't have been that bad, but I was just like, what's going to happen? probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. With, you know, like I said, the opening shot of the corpse tied to the tombstone being my favorite piece of cinematography from the whole thing. I was very surprised at how funny it was. There's a lot more humor in this movie than I expected. Again, just for movies of that time. I mean, with Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, as the series kind of continued, they get a little sillier, you know. But across the board, I think all of the slasher movies started out pretty serious with their first films. And got silly after the fact, and a lot of the humor comes in later. But yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised at how funny some of the moments in this movie were, especially not knowing anything about Leatherface as a character. It made for interesting reactions, I guess. I just, you know, I didn't expect him to freak out and that he have this I'm in so much trouble kind of reaction. I mean, he acts like a small child, which is what I did not expect. The fact that behind this mask is basically somebody with the brain of a child. And not only was I shocked by how funny it was, or I should say, like the amount of humor that was in it, but the lack of gore. I mean, from what I knew about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I went into this really expecting some fucked up things to happen. And granted, I mean, they do, but the level of gore was so low. Some review that I read of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, worded it the best. The movie is done in such a way where it seems gorier than it is. You know, on the surface, there's hardly really any blood. There's not a whole lot of intense, graphic violence, but the whole movie feels more violent than it ever actually is on screen. And I was very impressed by that. I thought it was a very, like I said, not knowing anything about the movie, I was surprised and pleasantly so. There were a couple scenes in the movie. I mean, it's already a short movie to begin with. It's maybe an hour and a half long, but probably could have been a little shorter by like 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. There's two scenes in particular that just kind of go on way too long. You can't blame the movie entirely. I mean, it was the 1970s, and I can't tell if the intensity of that scene just doesn't play the same way nowadays, or if the filmmakers were just trying to kind of fill some time. But the first time the main girl, or the final girl that survives, gets chased by Leatherface, she's running through the woods. I mean, this scene goes on forever. I mean, she keeps running through the woods, and then she gets to the house, and then once she leaves the house, it looks like they reuse the same footage of her running through the woods a second time, all over again. And it just kind of goes on and on forever. I mean, it gets to a point where you're just like, okay, like, we get it. Like, either, you know, get out of there or let them catch you at this point. But it starts to kind of lose its luster. Another scene I felt that way about was the dinner scene at the end. Which was another thing with the family, is I thought that there was like a mother figure in there, but the fact that it was a family of essentially these like 3 generations of males, which I still have a lot of questions about the grandpa. I didn't understand that. Is he dead? Is he? I don't know. But the dinner scene, I mean, they are, you know, she's tied to the chair, and they start laughing maniacally, and they're all just they're nuts, they're crazy, and it's this just like cacophony of sound of their laughs and hoots and hollers and screaming, and then like her screaming, and again, it's that the same as the scene where she's running through the woods. They definitely just took the same sequence of scenes and played it a few times. And again, I don't know if it's to build intensity or to kill time. It went on too long for me. I didn't care for it. I'm gonna give this girl props. She jumped out a window not once but twice. I mean, that was her go-to escape route. I mean, of all the horror movies I've ever seen, I have never seen somebody so dedicated to just getting the fuck out of that situation. Where, I mean, the first time she runs out of a second-story window, doesn't think twice about it. Fucking takes off out the window, back into the woods. The second time, it's, you know, the end of the movie. She gets out, she's running. So there is one black character in the whole movie. He shows up at the very end, and he shows up just long enough to do this. And then he grabs this wrench, right? And just rocks him. Just rocks Leatherface with it. And he doesn't stick around. He hauls ass. The main character is flagging down a car, and you know, it's the truck that she's escaping in at the end. Well, while she's doing this and she's getting into the car, you see in the background of the scene, the black guy just takes off. He's just not looking back. He hauls ass. He wants nothing to do with any of this. He gets out of the truck, takes one look, and I mean, it takes him no time at all. I mean, I think that this movie probably does the best job of having realistic character reactions. He takes one look at this thing, turns around, gets back in that truck. There are times where I didn't know why he didn't just start the truck and keep going. Basically, the black guy is the hero of this entire movie. I mean, he takes out one bad guy with his truck by accident, and then he fucks up the other bad guy enough to let him get away. To the point where they don't really seem concerned. I mean, I haven't seen the other Texas Chainsaw movies, so I don't know if they went and got him. It's been my experience that I don't understand where the whole black people die first in horror movies thing comes from, because I don't see that almost ever. And I mean ever. The biggest thing near the end of this movie as I'm watching it that I couldn't help but wonder is, why has this not been like remade well? I feel like every time that they've tried to remake this movie, they try to streamline it way too much. They try to make it very mainstream. They kind of try to build off of what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, I guess, for people. I feel like Hollywood does this a lot, where, you know, they just want to cash in on something that exists. And you can tell the difference between a remake that was made with good intentions and love in its heart for the original content, and a cash grab, which is what the Texas Chainsaw movies kind of seem like to me. Granted, I've only seen the 2005 remake, and I can't even begin to remember it. But the whole thing is just, it's so intense, and it's very real, and the cinematography is fantastic. I mean, it's phenomenal cinematography. I don't understand how somebody can't remake this movie today and make an excellent version of this movie. In like a similar fashion to how the original Halloween is intense and has fantastic cinematography. People just want to cash in, you know? They don't want to, I feel like, artistically take the time to make the movie it could be. Anyways, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm glad I finally got to see it. And so that's one down and 30 more movies to go for October. I might actually make it this year. We'll see. Thanks for watching, everybody. And, you know, if you like what you see, if you want to see more, keep up to date on things, please subscribe. I will say, I'll do new stuff. I'll do new movies and stuff like that. I stay very up to date on things, obviously. I just decided to kind of do a channel that does focus on stuff that's not as new. Take fresh perspectives on older stuff, or kind of take the time to appreciate movies that aren't really getting talked about as often these days. I'm basically just trying to make a channel of things that I personally would like to see myself. So like I said, if you enjoy what you see, if you want to see more, if you want to keep up to date on things, please subscribe. Like I said, bear with me while the editing and the video content gets a little better. I'm working with what I have right now. But again, thanks for watching.